All right. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear me loud and clear. Today, I want to take a look at another section of our EOPA preparation material. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about budgeting and spending. Now, granted, we did not talk about budgeting as much, or actually, we haven't talked about it in banking, investment, and insurance because that was covered last semester in financial literacy. And so I feel confident that everyone knows what a budget is. Um, and simply explained, it's just a spending plan. It's a spending and a savings plan that you create in which you are instructing your money or telling your dollars where to go. Because if you don't tell your dollars where to go and you're not keeping track of your funds by using something such as a budget, then chances are you're doing a lot of unnecessary spending and you don't have um, an accurate understanding or are able to accurately track where your money is going. So if we look at the first bullet point under budgeting and spending, we will notice that it says financial goals. And with that said, we can take that to mean that it helps you to attain or meet your financial goals. And of course, you should have goals. Everyone should have goals, and there's reasons why you should have goals. Some of the reasons why you may have goals is because there are certain things that you want to purchase, or maybe there is a certain amount of wealth that you want to accumulate, different things that you want to do in life. So you need to have established or get an understanding of your reasons of what, why are you saving and what it is that you want to achieve. In setting goals, you want to make sure that they're smart goals. You should always be setting smart goals, regardless of when it comes to budgeting or if it comes to things that you're doing in your life, your things that you want to achieve now as a high school student, and then things you want to achieve as an adult. You always want to make sure that your goals meet the SMART or have the SMART characteristics. When we talk about SMART, that means making sure that they're specific, something that you can measure, something in which you're taking some type of action to reaching, something that's also achievable and that you can attain, something that's realistic, and you want to set some type of time frame. When we talk about time frames for setting goals, we can break those down into three categories. So long term, um, let's just say maybe 10 to 15 years down the road. Intermediate, that could possibly be, I don't know, 3 to 5 years down the road. And then maybe short term is something like in immediate, something that you want to attain within the next few months or within the next year. The time frames for those can vary depending on what resources you look at. But the thing to remember about that is when you are creating a budget, you want to make sure that you are looking at the financial goals that you have for yourself, the things that you want to achieve, and make sure that you make them smart in an effort to make them more realistic and so that you can track them and you can achieve them. Again, the purpose and the value of having a budget, even though some people may think it's time consuming and it's useless, but as it says here, it helps you to track the money that's coming in, which is your income. And it also helps you to track the money that's going out, which is your expenses. And so you want to make sure that they are, your goals are realistic. Let me see if I quickly have a budget pulled up. I do. So with your budget, you know that you have different types of categories. And here's one right here that financial literacy students are actually working on. This may look familiar to you. So in the top part of your budget, you want to have your income, and generally you want to look at your net monthly income, because remember, your net income is what you're actually taking home as opposed to your gross income, which is what you're making, so, or what you've earned. Include your net income. Always pay yourself first. So you want to take a certain percentage out for savings, and depending on where you are in life, a certain percentage out for retirement. And then you have your different expenses here. You have your stuff that's necessary that you have to pay. If you remember, we talked about the 50-20-30 rule, 50 being that you're paying for the stuff that's necessary that you have to have, your essentials. 20% of your budget should be going towards your savings and retirement. And then the other 30% is going to go down here towards the bottom to the non-essential stuff, the discretionary expenses that you don't necessarily have, and that's not going to be insurance because you definitely need that. But the other things like going out, entertainment, and things of that nature, that's going to be your discretionary spending, your wants, as you can see right here. So going back to the document here, making sure when as you're creating your budget that you're looking at your income, your fixed expenses. Your fixed expenses are going to be those things that the amount remains consistent. So let's just say if you have a car payment or if you have car insurance, those amounts tend to be the same. Perhaps your phone bill, I guess that could be variable depending on what type of plan you have. But then you have other expenses that are definitely variable, such as your food expenses and gas and stuff, because that's going to vary based on the usage amounts. What to take from here is just remember when you're creating your budget or your spending plans, make sure you have it broken down into the different categories. You have your net income, you have the fixed expenses, your variable expenses, and of course savings should be up there at the top because you want to pay yourself first. Okay. You also want to consider when you might need to change your budget. If you have changes going on in your life, let's just say perhaps there is a difference in your income, whether you're making more money or you're making less money, that's going to impact your budget. Sometimes after looking at your budget, you may notice that you're spending too much on a certain category, or maybe you're not spending enough on a certain category. So you have to make the necessary changes there as well. Some things that can impact your budget includes having limited resources. You may not have enough money. And so with that said, you're going to have to figure out where to cut back or where you have to adjust your budget. Other things that you have to budget for is for things that are paid once a year. Now, most people, well, at least the people I know, they tend to pay their insurance and things like that once a month. You have the option to pay it up front, but a lot of times we choose to break it down. But you want to budget for things that you have to pay, that you know that's going to come up once a year. So I know for a fact, like for adults, we know if you don't have a house or something, perhaps you have to prepare for your house taxes, or let's just say if you have like the expense for your car tag, depending on what county, then you have to prepare for that. So these are things that you know that you're going to have to pay once a year. Other things you need to consider again are your needs versus your wants. Remember, we have 4 basic needs, but all of the other things that we choose to purchase to make us more comfortable can be a need depending on what it is, but certainly you want to make sure that you're budgeting for your needs before you're looking at your wants. Opportunity cost is something else that can impact your budget. And so what you want to think about, if you choose to do something, what else are you giving up? What is the cost of something that you're giving up because you choose to do something or make one decision over another? That's opportunity cost. Again, earlier we talked about income and looking at your fixed versus your variable expenses. So looking at your net income, hopefully that remains stable. Your fixed expenses are going to remain stable, but if you have control, you should have control of your variable expenses. Sometimes you'll make the necessary adjustments to make sure that you are not spending more than what you have. I would encourage everyone, if you to give to a charity when you are able to as you get older. That charity could be your church. That charity could be an organization or what you're a part of. Just like right now, like in organizations like FBLA, if we have like the March of Dimes campaign or the toiletry drive that we were trying to have, these are all examples of when you can actually choose to be generous and give a part of your income to that to help, as it says here, improve the human condition, just to be a good citizen. Some other things that can impact your budget are things such as inflation. Of course, we know the prices of things tend to go up over time. And so because of that, the value of the dollar is not as much, or you can't purchase as much because of the prices. So you have to look into that. Acts of God, such as hurricanes and tornadoes and things like that. If we have major storms, that can impact it. And then you can just have like situations like we have going on right now, such as this pandemic with the coronavirus. You know, you have several people who are in the service industry. Some of you may even be impacted by this, who work in restaurants and different other places like hotels and the travel industry, where people may not be able to do as much because of the restrictions and because of the virus. So because of that, your income is going to be impacted. So things like that can impact your budget. Savings, can't stress it enough that it is important for everyone to get in the habit of making sure that you pay yourself first. Start small, and to make it habitual. You want to work your way up to saving at least 20%, but start with 5%, start with 10%, start with $5 of just making sure that you put something away. And certainly you want to work on putting money in your emergency fund. And it's recommended by a lot of financial professionals that you try to have at least $1,000 in your emergency fund starting off, and then you want to work your way up to where you have at least 3 to 6 months of your income stored away in your emergency fund. So of course you can't have all of that at one time, but you want to make sure that you are budgeting each month so that you can build up your emergency fund so that you can have it when you need it. We've been talking about investing a lot in banking, investment, insurance, and some of you have already started investing with things such as Robinhood. But it is suggested and recommended that before you start to get deep into investing and putting the money away for into your investment, is to make sure that you have your emergency fund first. I already talked about paying yourself first. And then the last section here talks about balancing your budget. So in the end, what you want to do is make sure, first of all, you want to make sure that you are spending less than what you're making. You definitely don't want to have a deficit. Instead, you want to have a surplus. Your discretionary income, that's the money that's left over that you can do what you want to do and spend on your wants. Using the 3 R's, which they list here as reality, responsibility, and restraint, is going to help you to make sure that you are balancing your budget and that you are spending wisely. And with that said, with using restraint, that may mean that you have to cut back on the things that you spend a lot of money on. Coffee probably isn't your thing right now, but let's just say you like to go out to eat a lot, or you're spending a lot on getting your nails done or your hair, whatever the case may be, games. You may have to cut back on that stuff. Practice some restraint so that you can build up that emergency fund and make sure you have enough in your savings. Look at different ways that you can reduce your budget. We just talked about that, spending less. And then some of the things that can help you to balance your budget or to make sure that you're not spending as much is to make sure you're doing comparison shopping. So before you pick up something and buy it, you may want to check at different stores or check on different sites to see if you can get it at a lower cost. If you're in a situation where you can negotiate the price with the person who's selling it, you may want to negotiate to get a lower price. Certainly use coupons when you can. Shop on the internet if that's going to be cheaper. You want to look for different ways that you can balance your budget and you can reduce your spending. Be aware of the influence of social media, advertisements, and peer pressure. That's one of the things we also talked about last semester in financial literacy, behavioral finance. You know, the impact that your values, your attitudes, social media, your friends and your family can have on you, and which can cause you to spend your money. So make sure that you are aware of that and you're not just buying something because you might see it on Instagram or you see that your friends has it and you want to be just like them. Think about, is it something that you really need? And furthermore, can you afford to buy it? So what to do to balance a budget if you overspend? The suggestion is to look at it. If you're overspending 1 month, then make sure that you try to look at your variable expenses and see where you can cut back, what you can reduce. And again, look at your spending leaks, the things that you are spending unnecessary money on. So in a nutshell, y'all, that's budgeting. Again, I think everyone has a good understanding as to what the purpose is and understanding how it's broken down. Again, in your budget, you want to include your income, more specifically your net income, because that's the money that you're bringing in. You want to make sure that you are putting money away for savings. And then after you are taking care of your needs and your savings, and then that's the money that you're putting away for your discretionary spending or your wants. It's suggested that you have a zero-based budget, which means, again, when you take that surplus, the money that you have extra, take that extra money and perhaps then you want to invest it into maybe saving or put it into your emergency fund, put it into investments so that you don't have that extra money just sitting around in your account or sitting around in your budget. Also, if you had to make an adjustment in the previous month because of some reason, then you may be able to take that extra money and maybe increase spending in an area where you really need to increase it in. Remember, it's important for you to go ahead and start establishing some type of financial goals for yourself and make sure that those goals are SMART. Hope this information is helpful to you. Take the time to review it. If you have any questions about it or need clarification on anything, please be sure to let me know and I will help you to the best of my ability. Okay, that's it for now.